What is up, YouTube? Brian here, back again, and yes, we've dusted off the camera for the YouTube videos, and we are back. I know this channel's been a little bit dormant the last couple months, but it's really because winter is tough in Minnesota for fishing. I've been really focusing on work, family, all this other stuff that I have going on, but that has not stopped my gear nerd impulses. I have so much new equipment and new gear, new rods, reels, tackle that I'm going to be testing on the water this spring, summer, and fall. And I've kind of made a decision that this channel's focus is literally just going to be 100% gear reviews. And I got a lot of stuff queued up for this season. The snow is starting to melt. Spring is right around the corner. I'm just going to go nuts on just making really good gear review content, rods, reels, tackle. I have a lot of stuff queued up, and actually that's what this video is about today. The Bassmaster Classic just finished, which means a lot of companies dropped their, some of the stuff they kind of been sitting on to announce. I know a lot of, Daiwa, we already knew all this stuff was coming, but there's some tackle companies that finally dropped a few things too. I have a couple things on my table here we're going to talk about, specifically the new Daiwa Tatula MQ. That I knew this reel was coming. It's finally here. I also going to talk a little bit about the Megabass Sleeper Craw, which is the most hyped bait probably at the Bassmaster Classic this year. Everyone was talking about this. And then another interesting bait from our friends at Yamamoto, the Yamamoto, which is basically a depths cover scat clone. Okay, so we're going to talk about that stuff. Oh, and also I finally made a decision on which Daiwa Tatula LT V2 rod I wanted to pick up to test this spring, and we're going to talk about this as well. So that being said, stick around on the channel. I'm back. We're going to be making content full bore from this point until fall. So anyway, first things first, I got to talk about the number one thing that I think people aren't really talking about, but as a Daiwa nerd, I was just waiting for this reel to come out. Now, if you guys don't know, you haven't been following me on my channel, I was a really big fan of the Daiwa Tatula reel, the LT, the light and tough as they called it. This reel came out several years ago. It's been great. I've owned probably about 10 of these over the years, including that limited edition sterling silver one that came out a little while ago. I should have brought that out, but I have that one. That's still a cool reel. But anyway, this reel was really awesome at the $200 price point when it came out for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is jet black, completely murdered out. I mean, that's just a great aesthetic. I think it goes with everything. I think they really hit a home run with the look of this reel. It just made it very, very appealing. Plus, the other thing nice about the black on this thing held up really well. I've beaten the crap out of these reels. None of the black is scuffed. None of the paint fell off. I have Shimano Accents reels where you can knock the paint off, so the black does show a bunch of wear. But the wear and tear on this, I mean, I've used the crap out of this reel. Looks like the day I bought it. I mean, whatever they did on this reel for fit and finish was phenomenal. So A+ to them. The only downside to the Tatula LTs in the old generation was the anti-reverse. Now, a lot of people had anti-reverses fail on this. Out of my 10 reels, I did have one that just straight up stopped working, and I had to have the anti-reverse replaced. Also, the anti-reverse on this thing, because it does have the back reeling feature, if it gets iced or really cold, completely fails. So up here in Minnesota, we do tend to river fish in the winter. There's a couple of places around here where you can fish open water all year long, and the above water temperatures definitely do get to freezing or below freezing, depending on when you go out, and the anti-reverse would fail. So if you got this thing even a little bit wet or it got really, really cold, suddenly the back reeling just kicks in and it doesn't stop. So that was the Achilles heel on this reel. But other than the anti-reverse issues, this thing was a straight up winner. Super durable, looks good. This thing weighed 6.2, the 2500 version of this reel weighed 6.2 ounces. Anyway, awesome reel. I was kind of figuring that they were going to discontinue this thing when they roll out the MQ version of all the reels from Daiwa. I knew it was going to kind of come top down from the Exist down to the Surte, and then the Kage MQ came out. As soon as the Kage MQ came out, I'm like, oh, a Tatula MQ is coming. It's finally here. So let's just dive right into this. So I haven't actually used this on the water yet. I don't usually like to do impressions videos, but I think there's a lot of people looking at these things because of the Bassmaster Classic, and Daiwa's media teams really went nuts talking about these things. And I'm a fanboy of these Tatula LT reels, so I'm just going to give some first initial impressions. So number one, the aesthetics. I think the aesthetics personally is going to be a personal opinion for a lot of people. They definitely went away from the murdered out look. Now aesthetically, These things are essentially the same color pattern as the Ballistic MQ, which this is a 30,000. This is a 3,000 Ballistic MQ. This is a 2,500 Tatula MQ. But basically, same reel. They just, all the accents on the Ballistic are red. So around the spool, get that to focus. But anyway, around the spool, around the body, all the accents are red. On the Tatula, they're silver. So they just said, okay, we're just going to take all the spots that were red on the MQ Ballistic, and we're just going to make them all silver. So if you like silver and black, this is your reel. I'm disappointed that they didn't keep the fully murdered out look. And also, I got to nitpick about one thing. Daiwa, knock it off with the silver covers. So they drop these giant, ugly silver covers on all of these reels. Make them black. Make them match the body. I don't understand. I just don't like that look. And also, Shimano did the same thing with the new accents. They put an ugly, chromed out body plate on a completely murdered out reel, which makes no sense. Just an aesthetic nitpick. Make these things black. Anyway, okay. So that being said, when I posted pictures of this thing on my social media, a lot of people don't like the way this looks. I personally don't care. I think it looks okay. I really liked the old version. I think they definitely took a step backwards with this one, but I don't think it's that bad. It definitely looks cheaper. I think when it was all murdered out, it looked a little more premium, looked a little fancier. I think when you just chrome this thing out, it looks like just any other reel you see at like Cabela's. Like you could go and pick up a Johnny Morris reel that kind of looks like this. Or whatever. So I think it definitely took a step back aesthetically. Not a huge step back in my personal opinion. Oh, by the way, this and the Ballistic, these are both made in Vietnam, just if you guys are curious. So this is the 2500. Couple pros. Number one, they shimmed the handles correctly on these things finally. There's no knock. So if you guys don't remember, the previous generation Ballistics and previous generation LTs, these things in particular, the handles were never shimmed perfectly and there was a clicking noise that I had to fix. I have videos on how to do this, but you could basically change the handle out from shims to bearings, and then boom, clicking's gone. So it got rid of a noise. It feels a lot better. Not a problem on this one. It feels good. No clicking. Great. Smoothness? It's okay. This thing out of the box is not that smooth, but sometimes these reels need to break in a little bit. So I'm not going to say like the smoothness is not going to get better, but I'm going to say it's not that impressive, to be honest, on this thing. Now, weight-wise, this is where this is supposed to be a differentiator from the Ballistic MQ that came out a little while ago. So this thing is, I wrote this down, is 6.7 ounces without line on the 2500. It's definitely not as light as the old one. I mean, the MQ body of these things is always going to be a step up in the weight department. These are supposed to be more rigid, more powerful, but because of that, you are going to sacrifice a little weight. This is 6.2. I'm sorry, the old 2500, not this one. This is a 3000. I don't want to pick this up. But the old LT 2500, I think that's a 6.2. The Vanford 2500 is 6.3 ounces, and this thing is 6.7. So it's definitely heavier than the Vanford. This thing is at a $200 price point still, so it's $199. It feels light in the hand. Honestly, you're getting a little bit of more weight than the old version, but you are getting that much more rigid body, and there's no more anti-reverse. The switch is gone, no more back reeling. So that they got rid of the Achilles heel from the old version, which is nice. So step down in the aesthetic department, step up in the technology department with the MQ body, bigger gear, more power, one-piece frame. This is all one piece. That's the monocoque design. How is this going to perform on the water? We'll see. One thing I think this is a really gear nerdy thing that I want to talk about, but they brought back something on this reel that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. And it seems stupid, but listen to this. They brought back the click. So for a long time, the Daiwa reels got rid of the bail clicker. So like the old Tatula LT, no click, no bail click. The new Ballistic MQ, no click. The Tatula MQ, she's back, baby. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about that. I know a lot of people are weird about this, but I think a lot of people like that click. Daiwa listened. They brought back the click. One thing I have to say, I think on a weight savings measure, is they definitely gave the Tatula MQ a completely different rotor than the ballistic. So the ballistic has this big rotor with this big thick bar. I think it's the exact same rotor that's on the Procyon MQ. So the Procyon MQ got this big thick rotor as well, but the Tatula MQ has a much thinner rotor. So this bail arm is way thinner. I don't know, here, let's get these up next to each other. And I'm assuming this is literally just a weight savings because the Tatula LT is the Tatula version is marketed as a lighter weight reel than the ballistic. The ballistic has all of the waterproofing, has the mag seal. This Tatula does not. But also this Tatula is lighter. So if you notice, man, that's a really significantly different bail arm on the Tatula MQ. Is it better or worse? I guess, I don't know. We'll find out. But it clicks. So some people are going to be pretty happy about that. So anyway, that's my initial impressions on this thing. I'm going to get out on the water. It pairs up beautifully with the new Daiwa Tatula LT spinning reels. Now, this is the 7-1 medium heavy. I picked this one up specifically because I actually had a chance at the Northwest Sports Show to pick up and touch every single rod in the Daiwa Tatula Elite V2 lineup. And out of all of them, I tried and picked them up a lot. A lot of them are pretty cool. This is the one that stood out to me, the 7-foot medium heavy. Now, a reason is I've always been looking for a really good competitor to a good shaky head, wacky room, like a good bottom contact spinning rod that's got a good tip but a lot of power. This thing fits the bill. So I'm a shaky head addict. I throw a lot of shaky heads. I love throwing wacky worms. I mean, who doesn't? And also, if you're going to throw finesse jigs, you kind of want a spinning rod that's got a little extra oomph in the back. But a lot of medium heavy spinning rods have really stiff tips. I think that just comes from like, pike guys and, people who fish toothy fish like a medium heavy spinning rod and want a lot of oomph, like stiff rod. This thing for a medium heavy has a very nice tip. So this is a medium heavy, but to me, it kind of has a tip of a medium, to be honest. So this is the Daiwa Tatula Elite 7-foot medium heavy in the new version. I'm going to leave a link to these things if you want to check them out on Omnia. But anyway, look at this. Nice soft tip, but boy, oh boy, is that backbone stiff. So as soon as you get to about right here, right about where this hand is, right in this part of the rod, all the way down to the handle, this is a straight broomstick. So broomstick, soft tip. This rod, I think, is going to be a really great shaky head rod, especially in grass. I think it's going to be a great wacky worm rod, skipping around docks. And also, I think it's going to be really good at finesse jigs and also Nico rigs. If you fish Nico rigs in the grass, we're in Minnesota, so we're fishing typically some deep milfoil, deep coontail in 8 to 12 foot of water, and we're getting that worm or Nico rig way down in there, and we're catching bass. We're trying to get them out. This is the kind of rod you want. You want a stiffer, more powerful rod, but a decent tip so you can really lift that hook up and get into them. Now, to me, this is like in that range of that NRX 852 S type rod. Is it as good? This thing is a sub $200 rod. We're going to find out. So I'm going to have a full review on this rod, and I think with the Tatula LT, I mean, it does look pretty sick. I'm going to run this whole combo just like this. I'm going to throw some 10-pound braid on it to a 8-pound 4-carbon leader. And we're going to go shaky head fishing. We're going to go wacky rig fishing. We're going to go Nico rig fishing. And I think finesse jigs are going to be on this thing too. Pretty good, like a 1/4-ounce finesse jig, like a Bad Little Dude, or a VMC, or no, the Z-Man Cross-Eye finesse jig, I think is going to be awesome on this thing too. So I'm going to try it for smallmouth. I'm going to try it for largemouth. I'm going to really put this rod to the test this spring. Okay, so let's move on. We talked about the rod reel. I think it's cool. Jury's still out though. Stay tuned to the channel. I will have more info on that. I think the next thing we got to talk about is this bad boy, the Sleeper Craw. Everyone went nuts for this. Megabass did not let dealers sell them until the Bassmaster Classic. So everyone was posting, all the shops were posting pictures of like these Megabass boxes. They're like, do not open until the blah, blah, blah. It's kind of amusing. What is this bait? This bait is a football jig. It's basically all it is. This is essentially I'm going to call this a finesse football jig because of the hook. So this hook on this Sleeper Craw, the amount of distance from the line tie to the hook is very small. So to me, that's a finesse. This is not a big football jig. It's got there's a wide football lead into this butt section right here. You can kind of feel it. It's not very big. Here, I'm gonna expose it. See if I can expose it. Can you guys see that? So that's the lead part on this thing right here. So it's got a small football shaped piece of lead in the butt. It's got a fairly stout, like this is a thick hook, but the distance from the hook point to the eye is pretty small. And the material that this thing is made of is elastic. So this is that elastic. Like people are like, oh, the pinchers are going to pull off. They're not. These things are super elastic. Like I'm pulling on this thing pretty hard right now. It would be funny if it ripped on the video, but yeah, these pinchers, these ain't going anywhere. These things are really durable. The bait looks great. The color patterns are cool. I think the big hump on it is kind of funny to cover the hook. Is this thing going to be totally weedless? Like I can rub my finger over this like pretty lightly and I'm not catching that hook point. So I'm guessing this thing is going to stay fairly weedless. Oh, okay. Never mind. I am getting that hook. No. Okay. But it's not going to be weedless, but it's definitely going to probably the hook's going to stay buried better than the sleeper gill. I'll tell you that right now. Not a big fan of the sleeper gill. The hook pops out all the time, catches stuff. I'm not a big fan of the sleeper gill. Love the dark sleeper. This thing is basically a football jig without a skirt. That's all this thing is. It's a 5/8 ounce football jig that comes pre-rigged with the plastic and no skirt. To me, that's what it is. And I fish a lot of football jigs and I fish a lot of smallmouth who forage on crayfish in Wisconsin. So I'm definitely going to throw this. I'm going to make a video about this thing. We're going to get out on the water and come to some of my favorite crayfish lakes in Wisconsin. We're going to rig this bad boy up on a bait caster and we're going to drag some rocks and drag some sand and we're going to see if we can get some smallies to commit to this thing. So the jury is out on this thing being good. It is $10. These things are not cheap. I mean, it is Megabass. So you're paying more money than you were for the dark sleepers. But this is a premium feeling product. The mold is really cool. The color, it's 17 colors. They come with, like, I don't know why Megabass dropped so many colors, but they dropped a lot. Tons of colors. The design is kind of cool. Just think about this thing as a football jig without a skirt. It's just a pre-rigged dragon football jig made for heavy cover. How it works in the rocks and the sand and around maybe some wood, some brush. We're going to find out. But anyway, I picked up like 3 of them. I'm not going nuts on these things because they could be duds. Who knows? Anyway, Omnia has them in stock. I'll leave links in the description. The last thing we got to talk about is the new poop bait from Yamamoto. So everyone is trying to get on that cover scat market. Apparently this bait has been available in Japan for a while under the yellow packaging. So you could get these from Japan. Yamamoto baits in Japan come in a yellow package. They dropped it in the new. I love this. By the way, whoever came up with the design on the new Yamamoto packages, this is beautiful. A+. I love good marketing, good design, and this is absolutely a awesome graphic package and color palette. Love it. Anyway, that being said, a couple things. So this is a 3.5 inch bait. This is the 3-inch. The cover scat, yeah, they're both 3.5. Sorry, for some reason I thought the cover scat was 3.25. Anyway, so we got the cover scat. We got the Yamamoto. They're both 3.25. Here's the fun part. I threw these on the scale. 0.6 ounces. 0.6 ounces. These weigh the exact same. So I'm guessing they're going to behave the exact same. They're going to weigh the exact same. I really don't think a bass is going to know the heck of a difference between the cover scat and the Yamamoto. You got that little flappy tail on this thing. But I've caught fish on the cover scat. It absolutely works. It's kind of a fun bait to fish, to be honest, just because it's kind of weird and it makes you fish it really slow. So if you need to slow down an area and just really kind of work it, the cover scat kind of forces you. I'm assuming same thing's going to be true with this. But here's the fun part. A package of these comes with 8, and they're cheaper than the cover scat, which comes in a package of 6. So if you're an economic fisherman and you want to try the poop bait, there's really no compelling reason to pick up a pack of cover scats for $10 versus the pack of the Yamamonokis when you're getting more baits for less money and you're basically getting the same size, same profile, and the exact same weight. So as an easier to get and more budget-friendly option than the cover scat, and you want to experiment with this bait, might as well try one of these. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to cover in this video. I think these are going to be fun. I'm definitely going to try them. I love this color. The Mimuzu. I'm terrible with color names, but anyway, this kind of this melon. It's not really pink, but it's not really red. It's kind of just like this melony color. I think this is cool. I kind of want to Carolina rig this thing, to be honest, with that little wiggly tail. I think this could be really fun to Carolina rig, especially through like some vegetation, because you can really bury the hook in this thing and get it weedless. So anyway, we'll see. I'm gonna experiment. I'm gonna fish it. I'm gonna fish it weightless on an EWG like you're supposed to, but I'm also going to try a Carolina rig in this thing and see what happens. So anyway, got a lot of stuff to play with this spring. I just want to talk about the Tatula MQ, the new Tatula Elite rods. I think are pretty cool. I do want to pick up a Tatula Elite casting rod, but there's about 3 of them I'm kind of interested in, but none of them really stood out to me as I have to buy it right this second, but I will end up picking up one. I just don't know exactly which one yet. I kind of want to go get my hands on them again and make a decision, but that 7-foot medium spinning rod seems like a winner. I mean, I'm really excited about this rod. I think it's going to be a cool one to review, and I can't wait to make some content about it. So if you've made it this far in the video, please give me a like, please hit subscribe, and then definitely follow me on Instagram because that's where I post a lot of day-to-day content. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for making it to the end of this video, and we will see you on the next one. Peace out.